Hello students, let's try to understand human brain, right student? Is reflex action the only function of the spinal cord? Obviously not. Since we know that we are thinking begins, a spinal cord is made up of nerve which supply information to think about. Thinking involves more complex mechanism and neural connections. These are uh, concentrated in the brain, which is the main coordinating center of the body. The brain and spinal cord constitute the central nervous system. They received information from all part of the body and integrate it. We also think about our actions, writing, talking, moving, a chair, clapping at the end of the program are example of the voluntary actions which are based on the deciding what to do next. So the brain also has to send messages to muscles. This is the second way in which the nervous system communicates with the muscle. The communication between the central nervous system and the other part of the body is facilitated by the peripheral nervous system, consisting of cranial nerves arising from the brain and a spinal nerve arising from the spinal cord. The m- brain thus allow us to think and take action based on the thinking. As we as you will expect, this is the accomplished through a complex design with the different part of the brain responsible for the integrating different inputs and outputs. The brain has three such major parts or region, namely the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain is the main thinking part of the brain. It has a region which receives the sensory impulse from the various receptors. Separate areas of the forebrain are specialized for hearing, smell, sight, and so on. There are separate areas of associated where the sensory information is the interpreted by putting it together with the information from other receptors, as well as with the information that is already stored in the brain. Based on all this, decision is made about how to respond, and the information is passed on to the motor area, which controls the movement of voluntary muscles. For example, our leg muscles, however, certain sensitive are distinct from the seeing or hearing. For example, how do we know that we have eaten enough? The sensation of feeling full is because of the center associated with the hunger, which is separate part of the forebrain. Study the level diagram of the human brain. We have seen that the different parts have the specific function. Can we find out the function of each part? Let us look at the other use of the word reflex that we have talked about in the introduction. Our mouth waters when we see food we like without our meaning to. Our hearts beat without our thinking about it. In fact, we cannot control these actions easily by thinking about them. Even if we wanted to, do we have to think about or remember or to breathe or digest food? So, in between the simple reflex actions like the change in the size of the pupil and the thought out actions such as moving a chair, there is another set of muscle movement over which we do not have any thinking control. Many of these involuntary actions are controlled by the midbrain and hindbrain. All these involuntary actions, including the blood pressure, salivation, and vomiting, are controlled by the medulla in the hindbrain. Think about the activities like the walking in the straight line, reading a bicycle, picking up a pencil. These are the possible due to part of the hindbrain called the cerebrum. It is responsible for the precision of voluntary actions and maintaining the posture and balance of the body. Imagine what would happen if such of these events fail to take place if we are not thinking about it. How are these tissue protects it? A delicate organ like the brain, which is not important for variety of the activities, need to be carefully protected. For this, the body is designed so that the brain sits inside a bony box. Inside the box, the brain is contained in the fluid-filled balloon, which provides further shock absorption. If you run your hand down the middle of your back, you will feel hard, bumpy structure. This is the vertebral column of the backbone, which protects the spinal cord. How does the nervous tissue cause action? So far, we have been talking about nervous tissue and how it collect information, send it all around the body, process information, makes a decision based on information, and convey decision to muscle for the action. In other words, when the action or movement is to be performed, muscle tissue will do the final job. How do animal muscle move? When a nerve impulse reaches the muscle fiber must move. How does the muscle cell move? The simplest notion of movement at the cellular level is that muscle cell will move by changing their shape so that they shorten. So the next question is, how do muscle cells change their shape? The answer must lie in the chemistry of cellular component. Muscle cells have special proteins that change both their shapes and their arrangement in the cell in response to the nervous electrical impulse. When this happens, now arrangement of these proteins give the muscle cells a short form. Remember when we talk about muscle tissue in class 9, there were different kind of muscles such as voluntary muscle, involuntary muscle. Based on what we have discussed so far, what do we think is different between these two? Coordination in plants, that we will study in the latter part of the video. Thank you so much for listening, student. Thank you.